Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And today, I'm doing a review of Darkwood, a classic reprint by Presses Intermedia of an old RPG. Well, old is a very relative term these days, because you'll see it dates to 2001. The original Darkwood, which here looks a bit like it was Dankwood, but I believe it's Darkwood, was written in 2001, and if that's old, man, if that's a classic already, I feel so old. I could be doing some kind of a post about the election and that. It's only, as of the time of filming, it's only 2 days away. I'm not going to. All I am going to say is that you might have heard that there was a list of nearly 500 game designers. Some of those are actually known quite well. Maybe 4 out of 5 are nobodies, and then 1 out of 5 are known game designers. But the point of the list is that if you ever want to work in gaming again, you must sign that list in order to express your loyalty to the Democratic Party and the Biden-Harris campaign, right? Hey, Big Chungus. Yeah, Big Chungus does not approve of this, by the way. So anyways, that list is exactly like the one that happened 4 years ago with the Gamers for Her hashtag, except this time they couldn't come up with a clever name, so they just called it the October Surprise, as if the, 500 gamers, game designers, most of which nobody knows, are going to be the ones that make the difference and change the whole election. Anyhow, here I am. I know I'm not literally alone in this, because I know that there's quite a lot of other game designers who are either open in some cases, like my co-hosts on Inappropriate Characters, or public, open like my co-hosts on Inappropriate Characters, or private rather, that are keeping their actual political affiliation a secret, that are going to be voting for Trump. But I don't need a list. I don't require or demand loyalty oaths from other people. Just keep in mind, in the webpage where they made this list, they said it very clearly that, this was white supremacy, that if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, then you're basically a white supremacist, right? And so these are what people think of you if you voted for Trump, or if people in your family voted for Trump. Do you think those people are white supremacists? I think unless you're very sick with the leftist disease, you wouldn't, right? But that's what they think of you. That's what they think of your friends. That's what they think of this hobby. So stop buying products from them, right? Buy products of mine, and products I've reviewed, and products I've recommended, because I'm going to tell you if they're made by somebody who hates you. And, Darkwood is not made by someone who hates you. Of course, my own games like Lion and Dragon are not made by someone who hates you. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I just want you to game, right? I'm not going to say that every single person who votes Democrat is a Stalinist, right? They're being run by a group of Stalinists, by a group of totalitarians. The Antifa people are that. The people running BLM are that, but that's it. I'm not saying that you're a terrible person for being a Democrat. I will say you're probably misguided, especially this time around. I could totally understand. I used to, support Democrats myself. I supported Obama once. I supported Clinton. I hated George W. Bush, and I still do, by the way. So yeah, that's this is not turning into a very good review, is it? All right. Well, I tell you what. The point is, I'm standing on my own here, and I don't care. Just like I did 4 years ago. Hopefully, the result's going to be the same, and there will be much, much hilarity that will ensue. So, as for now we're on to the game review. Take note. Someone make a comment. 4:35. That's when you actually start getting into the game review. Darkwood is an RPG that probably you don't remember, because it came out in the middle of the D20 boom, and it wasn't a D20 game. So, you kind of end up wondering, why did it exist? And it is a game, actually, let me go to the back cover here. This is a game that is essentially about, come on, focus. This is not working right. Anyway, it's a game about playing Saxons that are resisting the Norman conquest, with an emphasis on the stories of Robin Hood, right? So basically, you're playing the game in the late 12th century, the time of Richard Lionhearted and King John, and Robin Hood, obviously. And you can decide how much Robin Hoody you want it to be, how historical, how supernatural. It's very funny. Well, it starts with some crappy game fiction, which really is totally unnecessary and harmful. And I'm very grateful that in the modern age, most of that is not being done anymore. I don't have a cold, by the way. I have allergies. It's spring here. So the game system itself is completely forgettable. It makes you kind of wonder why the game just wasn't made with D20. I'm guessing there was somebody who didn't care for D&D at the time. In this day and age, you'd probably want to run it with an OSR system. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the system. The system's completely fine. It's a kind of D20 roll under attributes. Character creation is done with a point system where you end up having different tiers depending on whether you want the campaign to be more kind of more realistic or more kind of swashbuckling. And you can optionally have characters be rolled up with dice to determine their attributes. So not too bad. You have a number of skills that you end up buying, and again, you have a certain amount of points. So it's point buy, which I don't much care for. If you remember, if you've seen any of my other reviews or read any of them, there's also bits and pieces, which are basically points to spend on benefits and disadvantages, which is, again, some of the worst elements of point buy, because you can kind of game the system to get and lose certain points. But there's nothing bad. I mean, it's nothing bad about it. So instead of straight hit dice, there's a wound tracking system. You can also make like characters that are like super powerful if you want to. You get some templates of basic types of realistic or heroic characters. So you can, if you really want to shorten the time for character creation rather than going through all that idiotic point buy, you can just, go with whatever you have here, right? Pick one and then run with it. Like I said, the rolls are D20, roll under. You can get criticals and fumbles. There's a critical and fumble value that is determined in a way somewhat similar to how Chaosium did it. You get all the rules you want, for combat and whatever. But there's nothing, like I said, nothing at all that is really remarkable, special, innovative. There's nothing here that wasn't done before this game came out. There's certainly nothing that hasn't come again since after that, except that, certain things like the Death Spiral wound tracks and stuff like that are less popular today than they ever were back then. Magic is done okay. It goes along with the same system, basically, of the skill-based system. It has rules for working things like ritual magic. It tries to incorporate elements of the setting. Now, I will say, I'm going to point out the best thing about this game is actually its historical detail, which I'll get into shortly. I will point out that in terms of magic, the game doesn't have that level of historical accuracy or historical detail in terms of being medieval authentic, in the same way that Lion and Dragon's magic system is based on how real medieval people imagined magic to work. This, or even, folk tales or legends. This is something that is a step removed from that. It's not as, it's definitely not just like D&D magic for no reason in the Middle Ages. It tries to be a more medieval feeling magic, but it clearly the guy's hit his limit, the author hit his limit in terms of historical knowledge. What was the author's name here? Haven't even looked. Steve Garnett. He hit his limit of knowledge when it came to the occult. Like he didn't really have enough details about that. Now, as of all that, we've gotten to page 56. This is a book that, goes to page 200 or so. Almost everything after that page, from here on in, is setting detail. And it is a fantastic, I'll have to say, a really, really, really good guide to medieval England in around, the 1190s. So it's really quite spectacular. There's a few things that you see in Lion and Dragon that you don't see here. The economy is not as well researched, so it's still got like this kind of, price lists are based more on playability than on what they really were historically. I already mentioned magic, but it makes up for it with a lot of other great stuff, right? It has biographies of the major Plantagenet monarchs that had come before John, and of course King John Lackland himself. It details like how you describe different heraldic notes. It talks about orders of nobility and then different titles that people can have. Gives you a biography of William Earl Marshall, Sir William, considered the greatest knight who ever lived. Talks about becoming a knight, knights in the campaign, etc. Then it goes into the church. Like the detail, the material is just really, really, really good. Really detailed, really fantastic. Goes into stuff about peasant life, life in town, merchants and guilds. Here it starts getting into... there we go. Here it gets into a section on warlocks and witches and spirits and stuff. And again, not quite as accurate in its depiction to Lion and Dragon, but not bad. I mean, it's not terrible. Now, here, the fairy folk, it's pretty good. Certainly some level of detail there taken out of fairy folklore. Spirits and demons gets a little bit also kind of moderate good marks, let's put it that way. Celtic deities, at this point you're getting a little bit ahistorical, because by then very few people would have cared about Celtic deities or Norse deities. They would have just been part of history. But, in the early 2000s, for some reason, almost every gamer wanted to imagine paganism as surviving into the Middle Ages. A lot of historians too. Saints and angels, a very too brief set of saints here, and a couple of angels, but it gives you a good idea. If you want to know more about about saints, check out RPG Pundit Presents The Cult of the Saints, which is a complete guide to incorporating the veneration of saints into your OSR or D&D type game. I think by this point you might have figured out that what I'm going to recommend, and then we get into like the area of Nottinghamshire, Sherwood Forest and all that. You might have figured out that what I'm going to recommend this book for is that if you want a fantastic source book to play a slightly earlier period of the Middle Ages, because the default of Lion and Dragon is like 1456, right? It's the War of the Roses. So if rather than that you want to play 1199 with Lion and Dragon, right, then pick up Darkwood. Right? It's a perfect setting book to let you, adjust, and basically you won't need anything else, because what matters here is the differences in the like culture and the presentation, the history, the geopolitics. Those things are going to be different from 1199 to 1456. There'll be a bit of technology, but it's a backwards track, so you don't have to. There's nothing that you're going to have to add. Yeah, this is a great historical source book for gamers who want to run adventures in the Middle Ages, whether it's with my game, with some other game. The system has nothing special. There's an adventure here, there's some other adventure elements here. There's nothing wrong with the system, but it's pretty boring basically. Nothing super special. But the setting is really well done and makes it a worthwhile product if you plan to do a lot of medieval authentic gaming of any kind, especially in that, central period of the Middle Ages. So, yeah, that's basically the review. I should note one thing, which is that this book is published by Presses Intermedia, the former publishers. Well, they publish games that I've written. I've worked with them several times. Lords of Olympus, No Murdered, and they had published RPG Pundit Presents before I switched to Spectre Press. I have a good relationship with Presses, but I don't think that affects the quality of my reviewing. I don't make any money from this book. I had nothing to do with this book. But I wanted to make you know that I have a business relationship with the publishers, so that I'm completely transparent there. As you can see, I certainly didn't turn this into an infomercial of, wonderfulness of the book. I explained what I thought I liked and what I didn't. So that makes it, I hope, very clear that I think I was objective in my review of it. Like, again, nothing wrong with the system. The setting is a really, really good source book for that medieval, the central Middle Ages period. An excellent kind of companion for Lion and Dragon if you want to run a Lion and Dragon campaign in the Robin Hood type era. Between this and the old school companion, you'd probably have everything you could possibly need for that. So that's pretty much it. If you like this video, please share it. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. If you're hearing this before the election, then please go and vote. And, of course, I will suggest that you vote GOP all the way. And anyway, if you want to support me, I do have a PayPal and a Patreon. But the best way, I think, to support me so that you get something in return is to pick up my products, whether it's my books like Lion and Dragon, Dark Albion, Arrows of Indra, The Old School Companion. Or you could pick up, if you have a little less money, or you've already got all my big books, check out my RPG Pundit Presents series. There's 103 issues, lots of medieval authentic stuff, but also lots of crazy gonzo gaming stuff. All of it is useful in pretty much any OSR system, any D&D based system. Some of it is useful in pretty much any kind of fantasy role-playing. So check all of that out. And, if you're buying an RPG Pundit Presents issue, it's I think the priciest one besides Star Adventure, which is available in print, would be like $4.99. So that would that's like getting a coffee and you get a book in return with stuff that's going to be interesting. Be sure to take a look at the list. The link is in the description below of all the RPG Pundit Presents products. They've all been doing very well. I'm going to keep talking about them in different videos. And, well, I guess we'll see you guys on the other side of election night. Currently smoking Ben Wade, Rhodesian, plus Argento Latakia.